Hello everybody, Mr. Moo here in the browser. And yeah, we'll get around to Elite Dangerous soon enough, but first let's cover what we got here. I wanted to give this a little bit of time before I made this video. Yes, it's been a couple of weeks since Horizons 3.0 landed, but I wanted to make sure all the figurative dust had settled. I wanted to make sure all the patches were in place. I wanted to make sure no major changes happened to engineering like we've seen with Crime and Punishment kind of bouncing back and forth like a ping pong ball from hell. So no, I just wanted to make sure things were well enough settled here before we went into this. With that said, so you want to have a look at Engineering 2.0 inside of Horizons 3.0. Let's get down to it. First thing you might recognize is the website. I am here on Inara. Inara.cz, that is a website I've covered before in the third-party Elite series. A really good tool, and I think you're going to have to get pretty acquainted with it. So what do we got here? Well, we've got the engineers. You recognize them all: Elvira Martok, the Dweller, Todd the Blaster McQuinn, the one and only man to actually win the CQC championship. Probably because he was the one and only man who actually showed up and signed in. So, what do we got here? Well, we've got the engineers, and it shows what they've got for their various, what they can work on. Liz Ryder can work on armor to grade 1, but she can work on seeker missiles on up to grade 5, along with torpedoes and other dumbfire missiles. Todd McQuinn, the ace with multi-cannons and railguns, not so much with frags. And so on and so forth. So, go on down here. This shows all the unlocks, the procedures, the procession. So, Elvira Martok. Well, then you get Zachariah Nemo. You got a little arrow pointed down to him. Click on him, and you get how to discover him. Well, if you hit grade 3 to 4 with Elvira, and then you get a invitation from the party of Yoru, which means you do work for the party of Yoru. You get to friendly or allied status, and then they will send you a invite. Hey, well, you want to meet this guy? And you go, sure. And then you got to provide 25 units of these Shihi biomorphic companions, which you can get at another system like 34 light years away. It's the only place they sell them. You got to make 3 or 4 trips because they only sell them at like 7 or 8 times a pop or something like that. They're a limited commodity. Anyway, also shows what he can do here, so that is the basics of engineering introductions. Scroll down here a little bit and you've got blueprints. Now you've got the hard points, the utility mounts, the optional internals, the core internals, and the armor. For this example, we're going to go into the core internals, and we're going to go with everybody's favorite upgrade, the Dirty Drive Tune on thrusters. Give that a click. And if you are signed in, now we're going to cover some other aspects of this too, but the short version is, if you have an app called the Elite Dangerous Market Connector, and you have it tied into Inara through Inara's API key, EDMC, the Market Connector, will read your journal files, and then update them to your account on Inara, and show you how much material, show you how many times you can craft a thing, based on your available materials on board your ship. One of those handy things that I wish Frontier had actually incorporated into the game, but right now this is the best we got, so let's make the best of it. Grade 3 dirty drives, I can craft this twice. Grade 4 dirty drives, I can craft this twice. Grade 5 dirty drives, I am missing pharmaceutical isolators. Alright, this is where one of the big major changes will be coming in. More on that in a moment. Down here we also have the possible experimental effects. Double-braced drives increase integrity by 15%. Drag drives, removal of safety protocols in the controller software increases drive thrust output at the cost of additional heat generation. So a little bit more heat, a little bit more maneuverability and speed. I'm missing hybrid capacitors for this. Now we all remember the materials grind. Go out and hunt and hunt and hunt, either figuratively or literally. drive around on a planet's surface forever just to find that one bit of arsenic or that one piece of polonium, and you never get there. Hours and hours. A cast iron pain in my butt and a lot of other people's butts, I know it. This is where one of the big changes kicks in. But more on that in a moment. So here you have all the experimental effects. Under Engineering 1.0, this was a randomized thing, or you had to spend engineering influence. This is no longer the case. Another nice thing is, if you have a grade 1 upgrade on the dirty drives, you can throw one of these experimental effects on, and then go all the way up through grade 2, 3, 4, 5, and this experimental effect will stay. You don't lose it as you upgrade through through the dirty drive ranks. You will only lose this upgrade if you move to another engineering type on the thrusters. Clean drives, reinforced drives, etc. All those other changes. But if you stay in this one engineering tree, or this one progression stack, you will keep this upgrade, this extra experimental effect, if you put it on at grade 1, grade 3, grade whatever. It will stay with you to the end. So that's a nice effect. I like that. I like that. So moving on, we've got something over here. Add blueprint to crafting lists. Well, what in the hell is this? Haha, glad you asked. Add blueprint to crafting list. Custom name. You can stick in a name for your design here. Say, just original, but there you go. You got your drag racer drive. And dirty drive tune on the thrusters, because we're here on the dirty drive tune page. But you can select any and all of the upgrades right here. Experimental effect. Well, we want the drag drives. And how many of these blueprints do we want? Do we want to upgrade multiple ships with this? Maybe, maybe not. We'll just leave this at 1. Also, rolls per grade. This is kind of important because under the new engineering system, you can't just skip immediately to grade 5. You've got to do, on average, about 5 rolls per grade to move up to the top the first time around you do this. Afterwards, once you've gotten to grade 5 on one of the blueprints with your engineer of choice, you can drop this down to, say, 1, and 1, and 2, and 3. And then if you, this will, one roll of grade 1 will get you to grade 2, one roll of grade 2 will probably get you to grade 3. 2 rolls of grade 3 will most likely get you to 4. Again, there's a little bit of RNG in here, so you could either go conservative or try to live a little bit, try to risk it a little bit, and maybe not gather as many materials. So that's how this works. I'm going to close this out because I've already got my own crafting list set up here. View my crafting lists. And we've got the drag racer. Now, since I've got grade 5 already unlocked on this particular drive, but not all the way to the top, I need a couple more rolls to get this absolutely maxed out, and I never put the drag drive mod on. So it's telling me this is what I'm missing: pharmaceutical isolators and hybrid capacitors. If I want to make one grade 5 roll, these are the 2 things I need. So, continuing on to the missing components page here. And this is for all my other blueprints as well, but we needed... Let's see here, we needed... I've already forgotten it. Pharmaceutical isolators, and I believe the other one was hybrid capacitors. And this is showing the entire list, all my materials. I could make 4 hybrid capacitors out of 24 grid resistors. But 5 of these are reserved for other blueprints. I could get 27 hybrid capacitors for 1 military supercapacitor. Well, what do you mean by that? That's where the next part comes in. That's where we're going to pop into the cockpit here and take a look at the galaxy map. So, you've got standard mapping here. Now they've added in a new feature here on the galaxy map under the map option. Not realistic, but the map tab. Now before you had, allegiance, commodities, services, government, civilization, economy. Wait a minute, services? Well, that looks fun. Go click on services, and now you've got galaxy map access to showing where various services are. The material traders for raw materials. And when I say raw materials, I mean like iron, molybdenum, arsenic, vanadium, the elements. And if you scroll out the map a little bit, you can see it light up here, right over here, and that is HIP 7564. At the major station in this system, there will be a raw material trader. And here we're near Narvert. This is near the frontier. Actually, that we have, any traders anywhere near here is pretty nice. Your mileage may vary on where you need to go. In case of emergency, you can look up Inara, and that has a decent chart of where you might be able to find the material traders near your location. We'll cover that again in a moment. So you got the manufactured material traders. There's one here in Koa Hing, that's why I went here, but there's also one in HIP 118213. And there's also one over here in Luanja. Manufactured stuff is like the pharmaceutical isolators, the heat vanes, the military supercapacitors, anything manufactured that isn't any physical object that isn't raw elemental material. And then you've got the encoded material trader. You got one down here in Antal. The encoded materials are the data. Eccentric hyperspace trajectories, abnormal shield pattern analysis, the stuff that you get when you scan a ship, when you scan a data point, cracked industrial firmware, modified embedded firmware. Remember what a pain in the butt that was? You can collect lots and lots of lower grade data and upgrade it into the material you need. Or, if you get lucky and you have too much of that material you need, you can drop it down into another material that you might not have enough of. Pretty handy. So then, you head on down to the Contacts menu, and we look at the Material Trader. And here you see the whole list of materials. Chemical from grade 1 on up to grade 5 rarity. Thermic, heat, conductive, mechanical, capacitors, shielding, composite, and so on. Now I've already done a little bit of exchanging here. But if you were to go down to here, say hybrid capacitors, I've actually got 11 of them. Here's how you get more of a material. I have 0 electrochemical arrays. So you first click on the one that you want, and now you can see some are dimmed out and some are still highlighted. These are the ones that you can transform. So with this arrow going to the right, that means 6 hybrid capacitors will turn into 1 electrochemical array. Or 1 polymer capacitor will turn into 3 electrochemical arrays. Or here we see 1 military supercapacitor could turn into 9. So 1 will get you 9, 6 will get you 1, or you can actually exchange across materials. So you could have, say, 2 conductive polymers will get you 1 electrochemical array. 2 will get you 1. Here, 2 will get you 3 if the grade 5, the biotech conductors at grade 5, 2 of these will turn into 3 here. So not as efficient, but in a pinch, it works. I've got 39 compound shielding, 2 will get me 1. I've got 37 filament composites, 36 will get me 1. So trading up low to high, it's not as well advised as, say, high to low. But we've got all the materials gathered up. Got that all set up. Now here's a problem with Inara. Inara does not refresh in real time. So you may want to make a little list by hand. You may want to find another app. I like to use a program called ED Engineer. And that will back me up on my on my various roles, on my various shopping lists. It's a help. But here we've got our crafting lists. Refresh it, make sure we're all set up here. Still not 100% set up, but there is the missing components page here. Still saying I am missing, well, it's saying that I need 11 total. So let's head back into Elite here. Material Trader. Hybrid Capacitor. I've got 11 here. Okay. So we're set up there. It just hasn't refreshed itself. Just a minor issue, one that, it's just, if Inara were constantly refreshing itself in real time for every player using it, the site would be unusable. So that's why I like using ED Engineer to back that up and work with this. This is kind of the raw list. ED Engineer then is what I use for my fine-tuning on stuff. But we will cover ED Engineer in another episode of Third-Party Elite. Right now, we'll just work with things we've already covered, in this case, Inara. So, you've got the Find Nearest Material Trader, and from Koa Hing, here is the list. Now, you see some of these are manufactured and raw. That's because, since this is an industrial and an extraction economy, the game, well, Inara doesn't know which one is here, so it's hedging its bets. You can double check by going into the galaxy map and checking versus the trader, raw, manufactured, and coded. Some of these are only one because it is pure one-type economy. Stuart Orbital at HIP 7564 will only deal with raw elemental stuff. Let's see here, Lobachevsky Station in Antal, that is high-tech and refinery. Well, we saw on the map, that is encoded data. So that's what you can do to jump around to get the various materials you need, get your shopping list fine-tuned. Here's the caveat. You can scan data all day long from various places. Scan ships, scan wakes, go into some kind of, go into checkpoints and scan the wakes there. That's pretty quick and efficient. That's easy, getting data. Pretty easy getting manufactured stuff, too. Go into a combat zone with a ship that's got a bunch of collector limpets. Let the police take out most of a target. It's basically bounty hunting 101 with a little bit of mining on top. Except you aren't actually mining for rock pieces, you're mining for the materials those ships drop. So you can collect those manufactured materials pretty quickly as well. The slowest one is still going to be the raw materials. You're still going to have to go down in an SRV, for the most part, and start prospecting rocks. The good news is, you don't have to have that exact rock anymore. If you need arsenic and all you are getting is technetium, you aren't out of luck. You can turn that technetium into arsenic. So that is the bonus to this. There's still the downside of, you're going to have to do a lot of prospecting yet, but the conversion technology is there now. So it's not as bad as, bashing your head against your desk repeatedly trying to get some kind of different role. Also, another nice thing, which I shall cover right now just as a supplementary bit. Head out here. The mission system has changed. And now, it's dial a reward. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look here. Every mission now has 3 options for payout choice. Alright, here we go. So this one needs 16 tons of animal meat. And you can either get paid out 117, 118 grand. That's the cash, the lump sum payout, and you get a little bit, moderate reputation and influence increase, which I've covered in the background sim video. You can get a lot more influence for the system faction, or you can get 23 tons of Bertrandite and 60 grand. Say there's some run on Bertrandite in some other system that's close. Say it's part of a community goal. You get the Bertrandite here, you ship it out there, you do the missions in the area. You're kind of getting paid twice there. You're getting paid a little bit less for a higher payout that you can turn in elsewhere through the market. Now here's the other good thing. Take a look at this mission. Assassinate terrorist leader. 1.795 million, or divergent scan data, or reputation. A lot of reputation. But, look at this. Divergent scan data. This is grade 4 rarity, and you get 5 units of it. You can trade that down, trade that up. To get grade 4 rarity data, that is a very handy thing to get. So now you got to kind of ask yourself, do I want a lot of money? Or do I want this? And this isn't just assassination missions. If you're well off enough with certain factions, I mean, they will give you stuff like, you know, exquisite focus crystals. There's materials covered, manufactured stuff. Here's the data. Depending on how well off you are with a faction, I'm only cordial here. Here's friendly, here's allied. But they're offering some pretty high-grade stuff right off the bat. Let's see some other stuff that we can get out of here. We could get modified embedded firmware. Now, these missions here with this symbol, these are wing missions. These are best done with a wing of 4, just to transport a whole lot of stuff. Because if you're hauling along 1,700, nearly 1,800 tons of personal weapons, that's going to take forever and a day. But if you get 4 people all lined up working the same mission, they can, you know, goes 4 times faster, and every person who was involved in this gets to dial their own reward, gets to pick their own reward here. Biotech conductors. Exquisite focus crystals right here. Again, this is a wing mission. But this one isn't. This one's just your standard kind of pirate and scoop black box salvage. Flawed focus crystals. The wing assassinations, if you got a good ship and you're confident in your skills, you can take those on. Just beware, anything in a wing assassination mission, all of the enemy ships, you're going to be up against a wing of 6. One of them's going to be a super heavy, and they are all engineered. See your grid resistors, crop harvesters. So you got some stuff here. If you need to unlock Marco Quent, and you had that pain in the butt of trying to find all of those modular terminals, you can find a mission here eventually that will have 20 tons of modular terminals just right there, ready to be dropped off at Marco's front door. Mechanical scrap. 5 units, 27 tons of silver. Not the hardest thing in the world to do. 12 pirates of the Wolpa Crimson family. We will give you 5 units of modified consumer firmware and over 250,000 credits. Plus the bounties on all 12 pirates. So no, the new engineering system has its ups, has its downs, but I think I've done a pretty good job of covering the changes. Whether you like the changes or not, totally up to you. Totally your personal taste on that. There's some things I don't like, but I'm trying to keep an open mindset here. I'm trying to keep an open, be accepting of this, because honestly, it's here and it's here to stay. At least for the foreseeable future. So you can either fight it and rail against it, or you can try to accept it and get used to it. One way makes you miserable, one way progressively makes you less miserable, if you were miserable to start with. Anyway, that's covering the new engineer, the new materials, how it integrates with Inara, and where you can go to find stuff. I'm Mr. Moo. Take care, everybody. See you out in the deep dark. Fly safe. If you can't fly safe, fly dangerous. If you can't fly safe or fly dangerous, oh, for the love of all that is holy, do not let the cat fly. Take care, everybody. See you soon.